What's going on, guys? Sam Adams here, and welcome to The Drop, which is a weekly series I do right here on the YouTube channel where I go through the top video game releases of the week and let you guys know what new games are coming out just in case you do want to pick up something new. And this week, we have a ton of Mega Man games coming to the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. We have a fair amount of zombies, whether you're looking for something hardcore or whether you're looking for something a little bit of fun and lighthearted, so to speak. And then in addition to all of that, we have the release of a new Far Cry game, which is a pretty significant event in the gaming industry. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. So starting things off, we have the Mega Man Legacy Collection coming to the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, and the Nintendo 3DS, although it is already out on PC if you were interested in that version of the game. But it pretty much includes the first 6 Mega Man games that really propelled the franchise to fame, and they've all been reproduced with high quality performance, so to speak, but the original look of the games have been preserved. Think rare replay, so to speak, where you have that kind of artistic backdrop along with the original game. That's the kind of thing that Mega Man Collection is going for, and it actually looks pretty good. So there are actually a couple of new modes coming to the Mega Man Legacy Collection, one of which is actually the challenge mode, and that's pretty much where there is a scaling difficulty, and there are different sections of one of the 6 games. Pretty much it would take a segment from, I would say, 2, 4, 5, 1, and 6, and then it would all just kind of copy and paste that into one big kind of transitioning level, or one big gameplay session, and you can pretty much challenge yourself whatever difficulty you want to kind of beat some previous times. So if you find yourself being very good at Mega Man and you get pretty bored with the standard levels and the standard kind of difficulty, maybe you've memorized how to do something, it might be a little bit more interesting for you to play the challenge mode. Now alternatively, if you are just coming into the Mega Man franchise for the first time, or you play on pretty much just a novice difficulty, it might give you a taste of how the franchise kind of changed over the years, and that would also be a pretty fun experience. Now there's also this museum mode, which is the one that's more appealing to me personally, and that's pretty much where you have your standard gameplay you would come to expect from the Legacy Collection that looks pretty much the same, except there is also some high resolution art that's shown off, there's also some concept art that's shown off, and also a history of how the games were developed. So pretty much this is your museum take on Mega Man. It's showing the development of the games 1 through 6 and how things kind of changed whenever it went from development to production to the final product, and that for me is really what the Legacy Collection is all about. It's showing where the legacy of Mega Man started from and where it ended with Game 6, and now it kind of progressed into the next few games that came after those. Now there are a couple of additions to this game. The first is a standard edition for $29.99, and that pretty much just comes with the base game, some downloadable music and themes, and a couple of stickers. So that's a pretty cool thing for $29.99. I mean, you are getting 6 Mega Man games that have been kind of polished up and made to look pretty good on the new generation of consoles. Now if you have a Nintendo 3DS, I have to recommend, of course you can do whatever you want, but there is a collector's edition of the game for $49.99 that includes a golden Mega Man amiibo, and I have to admit that it looks pretty cool. I don't even use amiibos, and I would like to have it sitting on my desk, but if you do use amiibos, this is definitely an interesting kind of exclusive amiibo that you would probably want to add to your collection, and for, $20 more, it's not really that big of a deal, and it definitely looks pretty cool. Next up, we have Far Cry Primal coming to the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, and the PC, in which you play as Takar, who is the last surviving member of this hunting group that went out looking for food, and pretty much he has to overcome some crazy odds to take back his land from some rival tribes, in addition to trying to survive in the nature of the Stone Age itself. Now, Takar is actually the Beast Master, which means he can pretty much use animals to his advantage. He can befriend saber-toothed tigers and sick them on various enemies. He could find wolves and sick a pack of wolves on an entire tribe of people. He pretty much has control over nature itself, which is definitely going to be a major part of the gameplay, considering whenever you compare it to previous Far Cry games, in like Far Cry 3, you have machine guns, flamethrowers, RPGs, all of this stuff that you could use to take out the enemies, but in the Stone Age, you pretty much just had a stick with a rock on the end, and that's about all you have besides fire. So I assume that there is going to be a pretty heavy use of this animal kind of aspect to the gameplay, and I'm pretty excited to see where it goes. Now, if everything does kind of end up the way I think it's going to end up, this is definitely going to be a Far Cry from the previous Far Cry games that we've seen in the last couple of years. I definitely think that it's going to be a new kind of experience, but I also kind of have a hint that it's going to be the exact same kind of Far Cry game with a new coat of paint on it, but I suppose only time will tell. This is definitely not one that I would buy on day one. I would wait to see how the game is actually going to shape up. But other than that, I do hope the best for Far Cry Primal, and I definitely think that it's high time that the Far Cry franchise gets a kind of rebirth, maybe a new breath of fresh air, that really sets it back on a course that's not necessarily just breaking a dictatorship from a group of people. Next up, we have the first episode of The Walking Dead Michonne, which is developed by Telltale Games, and it's pretty much a spin-off series of their original Walking Dead franchise, which pretty much follows the story of Michonne, who is the lady with the katana in the TV show, if you don't really exactly know who I'm talking about. But it follows her story after she leaves the group and how she's kind of dealing with the emotional trauma that she's been suppressing over the last couple of years since the entirety of society fell apart with the zombie apocalypse. Now, of course, this is pretty much your customary Telltale game. There isn't anything crazy going on here. You're still doing the dialogue thing, you're still making choices, you're still just kind of exploring the environment and doing your Telltale thing, so to speak. But what I like about this game is that it's focusing on someone that is specific within the story rather than the overarching story as a whole, because if you watch the TV show and you get emotionally attached to these characters, I think that Telltale is doing the right thing by giving players the option to learn more about Michonne and see what happens to her, or perhaps an alternative reality to what might happen to her in the TV show after she leaves the group. So I hope they do this with more characters because quite frankly I'm getting tired of the Walking Dead stuff that Telltale has been putting out. That's just my personal opinion. Feels a little bit regurgitated, so to speak, but this is definitely something I will be interested in. And again, this is a shorter kind of game. There aren't going to be like 6 episodes or 5 episodes like there customarily are. There are actually only going to be 3 episodes, I believe I mentioned that. So it's a shorter series, and it might be one that you want to get involved in all the way through. Now, last but not least, we have Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2 coming to the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, and the PC, and this is the second entry of PopCap's third-person shooter/castle defense take on the Plants vs. Zombies universe, which actually takes place after the events of Garden Warfare 1, which the zombies actually won the battle, and so Suburbia has been turned into Zomburbia, and now Garden Warfare 2 is pretty much the story of the Plants trying to take it back and make it back into Suburbia. What is the world of gaming coming to? Now, there is 24-person online multiplayer, 4-player co-op, a single-player option, as well as a split-screen option, so no matter how many people you have wanting to play this game, and in whatever circumstances you really have, you can probably find some way to play this game that satisfies everyone. Now, there's also 12 new maps, 14 different kinds of character classes, making a total of over 100 playable characters, each with different attributes and whatnot, so there is definitely a lot of content within this game to experience. Now, I am going to have to say that this is probably not for the hardcore shooting fan base. If you're a fan of Gears of War, Halo, Battlefield, Call of Duty, don't go into Garden Warfare 2 expecting that same kind of game, or, expecting it to be like those games. Go into it with the expectation, and this is kind of the equivalency that I draw, of Splatoon, where you're not expecting it to be really, really hardcore shooter kind of thing, but more so an arcade kind of fun little game just to play on the side. Where I really see this having some value is if you have, say, a family reunion with a younger cousin or a younger sibling that comes over and wants to play a game. You don't want to play Battlefield or Call of Duty while you're in the middle of Thanksgiving dinner. Rather, you could definitely play some Garden Warfare 2, which is less violent, but still has some fun, intuitive gameplay that isn't that bad for grandma to watch, so to speak. So it's a little bit tuned down, it's not so violent, but it's still fun, and it can definitely be fun for the whole family, especially with all those different kinds of gameplay options. So there you guys have it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, drop me a like down below and comment what games you are going to be picking up this week. Are you a huge fan of the Far Cry franchise and can't wait to see where Primal takes it? Are you an old school Mega Man fan and you can't wait to play the Legacy Collection on your Xbox One? Do you have any other games that are coming out this week that I missed? Let me know in the comments section down below. And if you are new to the channel or you've never seen any of my other content, I do upload new stuff like 3 or 4 days a week depending on the week, as well as a Twitch stream every single Saturday night, as well as some kind of scattered here and there throughout the week. So be sure to check that out, and as always, I want to thank each and every one of you guys for watching this particular video. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.